Let's play a Sherlock Holmes game. Welcome back, guys, it's Geek here. Yes, this is Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, a game released back in the early 90s. It's an FMV game. I've got a lot of them in my back catalogue, which is why I've been playing some of them recently. This is the first, I think, of 4 different cases for this particular game. This one is the case of the Mummy's Curse. So, let's click on Holmes's introduction.
London is not a beautiful city. Under the soot that covers its buildings is a teeming mass of 4 million souls trying to survive, mostly off of each other. You see it in the paper every day. Thankfully, we have the London Times to keep us informed of all these troubling activities with an unbiased eye and razor-sharp accuracy. We find this publication to be of invaluable assistance in our investigations.
Oh, okay.
And I'm sure you will as well.
So I need to use that.
Among the forces of evil which run rampant in this city, there are also, thankfully, 2 groups of individuals who will aid us in our cause. As we do, they attempt to right wrongs and restore harmony and civility to the streets of London. The first of these groups is a ragtag association of young ruffians. I call them the Baker Street Irregulars. Don't let them fool you. They may be scruffy and ill-bred, but they are on the right side of the law. They can go
apart from the fact they're pickpockets and stuff,
everything, and overhear everyone. They are my eyes and ears in the streets of London, unquestionably a tremendous asset in our work. They will help us in our investigations if they can.
Okay.
The other group is a far more civilized collection of gentlemen and institutions. I call them the Baker Street Regulars. They, too, will be extremely useful in our work.
Yes.
At the start of any investigation, do keep in mind that it is a capital mistake to theorize before one has data.
Yes.
Unwittingly, one begins to twist facts to suit theories instead of theories to suit facts.
Yeah, okay.
The people and places to whom I will now introduce you will help us to collect the facts.
Yes.
May we use them wisely.
Elementary.
The game's afoot.
Ooh. What? I will exit, I guess. About the regulars. Do we care, or should we just hit play? Let's just play for now. This title screen's so loud compared to everything else. It's really weird. Okay.
What rubbish! What balderdash!
You must have read something terribly disturbing, Watson, for you to be so overwrought this early in the morning.
Indeed, Holmes. It's irresponsible of the Times to play upon people's superstitions.
Ah, you must be referring to the affair of the Mummy's Curse.
Has the entire city in an uproar. 3 men dead, and they expect us to believe that a 4,000-year-old mummy was the murderer. I'm surprised you haven't taken some interest in this case, Holmes.
To the contrary, my dear Watson. I have made some inquiries. Because, I dare say, I do believe this murderer is a much younger chap.
Okay, cool. Oh, why do I have to keep doing this? That's weird. Alright, so the newspaper. Should we read that? Oh, okay. What is the date? It must be April. What? Oh, God. Mummy strikes again. The body of James Windibank was discovered late... I can read. Late yesterday in the room he was preparing for the British Museum's exhibit of newly discovered artifacts from the tomb of Catabet's mummy. Catabet? The archaeologist was found strangled. Around his neck were linen bandages of the type used by ancient Egyptians in wrapping mummies. Windibank's is the 3rd murder to be associated with the mummy Catabet in the past 6 weeks. The archaeologist had accompanied the London University-sponsored expedition to Egypt. Organiser Ebenezer Turnbull was murdered, and Andrew Weatherby met a similar fate. Okay. So what does it want us to do first? The judge! Directory! Oh, what's this? Oh God. What do I do? What? Wait? Notes. Dr. Watson learns from the Times that the mummy is supposedly responsible for 3 men's deaths. He does not reveal the names, but they are certainly listed in the articles. Yeah, I've got the names. One was Weatherby, or something like that. This guy. They're sending a regular, I don't know why. Holmes wisely calls upon the Irregulars to travel post-haste to discuss the recent murders with the widow of James Weatherby. Caught the missus at home, Governor. She says the chap who wrote newspaper stories about the mummy of yours was one of Weatherby's old students. Okay, old students, eh? Who else was in the Popper? This one? It was also Turnbull and Weatherby. Oh. Ah, I go there myself, of course.
Dr. Turnbull, he was a strange one, he was. Hardly ever at home, always traipsing about a Lord knows where.
May I take a look at his things?
Oh, suit yourself. All he had is a big pile of books about Egyptian mummies and a few maps. He was a son of an earl, he was. Though you hardly tell from looking at him, poor fellow. Do you really think this mummy thing's what's done him in? Creepy, I says.
So bad. Okay, where's his stuff then? Why can't I look at his stuff? And Weatherby.
I'm very sorry to intrude on you in your moment of grief.
Oh, that's quite all right.
Hello.
You know, Andrew and I hadn't been married very long.
Oh, in that
Long
case.
enough to know if you had any enemies,
Oh, Andrew was so unassuming. Everyone liked him.
including Mr. Urubaru.
I really loved my husband.
I'm sure you did.
What's that got to do with it?
Oh, English toffee, my favorite.
Would you like one?
Please.
Sorry, you'll have to open this yourself. I've never been any good with these things.
What? Now my husband's dead, I can't have tins and jars opened anymore. Weatherby, nothing on file. What was on file for Weatherby? Because published a paper on the rare antiquities buried in the deserts of Arabia. Has had some difficulty with the anti-vivisectionist league over the past several years. Why would you send someone to these people? Sorry, Gav. You'll never catch us in no library.
Here it is, Holmes. Egyptian mummies are embalmed bodies preserved to facilitate their resurrection. Many mummies have been found, and they are almost always the bodies of pharaohs. The pharaohs believed that one day their bodies would be brought back to life. See History of Egyptian Mummies by Pleasure Group, London, 1834.
Very good, Watson.
Yes, great. Lomax. Just did that though, didn't we? Where's Lomax?
Here.
Okay. Oh, what's this? What the hell's going on? What's that about? The Irregulars paid a visit to the widow. They learned the old student James wrote several papers in the Times. Right, we need to look for that, I guess. Oh, these are points. Holmes paid a visit to Turnbull's home and learns what they already knew. Turnbull was the Earl of Downey. Irregulars. And she says so it loves it. Yeah, she just completely went over the... Didn't answer the question. So Irregulars, we need to look at that. How come I got 10 points for going there when they wouldn't even go there? That's weird. No. I won't get a hint just yet. We'll try and carry on first. Irregulars. Irregulars, Watson says over and over to the regulars. After 5 minutes he gives up and simply says, "Please talk to Mr. Yu about these mummy murders." "This guy came to the door but could barely stand. He sure smelled the whiskey, he did. Oh, and apparently he was on that ship where that guy died." Governor? Was he then? Okie dokie, so shall we talk to them?
If this is an inconvenient time, perhaps I could come back.
On the whiskey?
I wouldn't hear of it. Just a bit of a hangover. I've weathered plenty worse than this.
I'm investigating the death of Andrew Weatherby. You were on the ship with him out of Cairo. Did you happen to make his acquaintance?
Weatherby, a most tedious fellow.
So tedious, one might want to do him in.
Don't be preposterous. In my condition, I couldn't have done anything of the sort.
What condition was that?
Drunk.
And I thought you were a great detective. The first night out, a few of us threw a bit of a bash that went on until we docked in London.
Did Mrs. Weatherby attend this particular bash?
She was the guest of honor, you might say.
Oh dear. I loved my husband, even though I was the guest of honor at a drinking party with a bunch of guys. So we go and talk to her again then. I think we should probe her a bit more, like it sounds like they did. Yes.
I'm very sorry to intrude on you in your moment of grief.
Oh, it's just something.
Right.
Okay, so that doesn't do anything new. It's doing the regular. We talked to a lovely lady. She offers us treats but could barely open the tin. Oh, she's not very strong then, is she? Okay, we need to look at those articles, don't we? How do I know which ones to watch? Read. Oh. I feel I must formally register my outraged, irresponsible handling of your paper on my recent discovery. Your reporter's insinuation that I lack the credential to unearth such antiquities is an utter affront. For your information, I am the world-renowned authority in my field, especially Egyptian studies. Your reporter obviously has no appreciation for the significance of such a finding. So Downey, Earl of Downey, okay. Right. At London University, Saturday's lecture was illustrated by photographs thrown on a screen by the electric light, which showed vividly and distinctly not only the work done at its various stages, but of the modus operandi, the conditions under which work of this character must be carried on, and the instruments necessary for the purpose. Who did this? Oh, Turnbull. His aim must be to restore to life monuments of bygone times. Okay, so not really much there to help us with, I don't think. Lions. Lions was killed. What? Actual lions were killed as well. What are the chances of that? Mangled lions and actual lions were killed. Yeah. I don't know if he's anything to do with anything, but let's have a look. Is he there? No, okay. Let's talk to the Strahd.
If it isn't Mr. Sherlock Holmes, London's most overly praised amateur sleuth, needing the help of the Yard again.
Are you going to stand for that, Holmes?
Let's just see who proceeds to solve this case, Watson.
Inspector Lestrade, my good man, I'm looking into the cause of James Winterbank's death.
I should have known. That murder has brought out every crank in the city. I think the professional police can wrap this one up.
All the same, could you tell us what you've discovered to date?
One dead archaeologist, no suspect, no motive.
And what of Andrew Weatherby's death? Have you looked into that?
I have talked to Captain Ramsey, but we have no leads. Look, I'm not even sure that Weatherby's murder falls into our jurisdiction. And if it doesn't, you're not going to find me worrying about it. As it is, I have enough murders to take care of.
Okay, that didn't really help. Captain Ramsey. Let's get him to be spied on. Tenny.
We had just come through a rather grueling storm, so I sent my first officer, Luther Tenny, down into the hold to check on the condition of the cargo. He reported back post-haste that Mr. Weatherby was lying dead among the Egyptian artifacts we were transporting. I turned over the helm to Tenny and went below to have a look for myself.
And did what you see confirm Teddy's report?
Unfortunately, yes. Weatherby was lying next to that coffin, or whatever it's called, apparently strangled. I went back to the bridge and put Tenny in charge of the investigation.
And what did he uncover?
Well, you'll have to ask him for the specifics, because I can scarcely recall the details.
I don't see the point of sending the Irregulars, because they just don't do anything, and if you send a detective, you get an FMV of them talking to him, so it seems a bit pointless. Anyway, this Tenny chap saw the dead body and then didn't do much with his inspection, you know, his investigation into it. Which, you know, if you were the killer, you wouldn't want to find anything, would you? Let's have a little look, shall we?
Let me tell you, a murder, even by a 4,000-year-old mummy, was only one odd thing in a string of bad luck on this voyage.
What sort of bad luck?
It all started with the crew, really. Seamen were a
Cargo.
rather superstitious lot to begin with, and the idea of carrying about a 4,000-year-old mummy had them shivering in their timbers. We almost faced a bloody mutiny. Then there were the passengers, a strange lot. I can tell you that reporter fellow, Travis, did us no service at all with his mystic mumbo-jumbo. He and Professor Winterbank had a regular war of words going on about whatever powers this mummy was supposed to have. And there was the two Arabs.
Arabs? Interesting. Do you recall their names?
I should hope I do. One was called Farmy. He always carried around this curious little box. No clue what was in it, but Farmy never let it out of his sight. The other one's name was Al Sard, and he spent most of his time lurking about watching Farmy. My guess is he wanted that box.
Sounds like you had your hands full.
I haven't even told you about the fight yet between Mr. Weatherby and Mr. Arubaru.
Over what?
Weatherby's wife, I'd say, though they were a tight-lipped lot about it.
I see. Tell me, Lieutenant, we understand that you were the first person to discover the body.
Yes, sir, I was. Captain Ramsey sent me down to inspect the hold. I went immediately over to them Egyptian crates. Professor Winterbank was particularly anxious about him, you know.
Could you describe the scene as you remember it?
I'll never forget it. I just made my way to the back of the hold, and I noticed at the top of them crates, the one what carried the mummy's coffin was raised up, kind of funny like. The coffin lid was laid off to one side, and there was Mr. Weatherby, all sprawled on the floor next to a bowl of ashes. He'd been strangled by a length of the mummy's sheeting. It was bloody gruesome, I tell you. Poor bloke's eyes popped out like a couple of sausages on a hot iron skillet.
Quite a vivid picture, don't you agree, Holmes?
Right. And you reported this to Captain Ramsey straight away?
Absolutely. In fact, the captain put me in charge of the entire investigation.
And what did you discover? Did anybody have any contact with Weatherby on the night of the murder?
Not that I know of. I could account for all the crew. The passengers were in their cabins as far as anyone knew or would say. Nobody saw anything, heard anything, or knew anything. Besides, Weatherby was seasick from the beginning. He stayed pretty much in his cabin all the time. Maybe that's why the lovely young Mrs. Weatherby was gallivanting about.
With Uruburu?
Yes, indeed.
And what of the bowl? Where is it now?
The bowl?
With the ashes.
Oh, yes. You know, now that you mention it, I don't recall ever seeing it again.
What was it? What does this do though? Like, what's it out of? Oh no, don't do that.
I'm sorry, gentlemen, but it seems you will have to turn up a clue or two more before I'll judge this case.
I don't want to go to that yet, anyway. Who are the people? What are their names? I can't remember their names. That's stupid. Don't know how I'm going to find them. There's no easy way, is there?
They had absolutely no information pertaining to this case.
I thought not, Watson. It appears that we've wasted our time.
Oops. I'm sorry. Can I talk to them again now? Will they tell me something new? No. Okay, so that's not progressed in any way. What about the lady?
I'm very sorry.
No, so that's not changed anything. Just some random guy. Who is it? Why wouldn't it tell me the names of the people? Why did that give me 20 points? Had nothing to do with it. What, just going to random people gives you points? That's stupid.
I question why we have come to this location.
Like, why have you gone to some random person? Nothing to do with this. Let's go to the British Museum.
Windibank's body was found in the mummy's case.
Inside it?
Precisely. One of the guards, Henry Witherspoon, discovered it when making his rounds. he noticed that the lid was askew and a hand was sticking out of it. By the look on his face when he came to summons me, he must have thought that the mummy was attempting to leave its resting place. Some of the guards have been a bit on edge, you know, since the stories about Dr. Turnbull's death.
What happened when you arrived at the scene?
Witherspoon assisted me in removing the lid. And there was the body of James Winterbank. Around his neck was a bandage of linen.
And the mummy was missing?
No, it was in there too. Underneath poor Winterbank, completely undisturbed, not a length of its sheeting unraveled.
Who had access to the exhibit room?
Well, the room was officially closed yesterday while we set up the exhibit, but the museum was open and we took no extraordinary precautions to keep people out.
Can you think of anyone who might have wanted to kill Winterbank?
None at all. I actually didn't know him very well. He did work for the museum, you see. He was with the London University. The university and the museum were joint sponsors of the Ketterbeck expedition.
Mr. Johnson, can you think of anything whatsoever that might shed some light on this affair?
No. I'm very sorry. I can't think of a thing. I only hope that all this publicity doesn't keep people away from the exhibit.
I bet it will get people to go. Where's the guy he mentioned? Yeah. Where's this other guy? With a spoon. I can't talk to him. Okay.
James was so thrilled when Dr. Turnbull invited him to join the expedition. He felt he had spent his entire life reading books about archaeology, and now was finally getting an opportunity to go out into the field.
Tell me, Mrs. Winterbank, when your husband returned, did he discuss the deaths of his colleagues?
Of course. James was extremely upset. I know he did not believe a curse to be responsible. My husband was a man of science.
Yes. Okay then. Where's London University? Yeah, I know you won't go to university, little hood rat. I don't see the point of them at all.
Tragedy. Fine men all and such outstanding scholars. I still can't quite get over the shock of it.
We understand.
Professor, we're looking for background information on these three men so that we can understand how their murders might tie together.
Well, let me begin with Dr. Turnbull. Ebenezer Turnbull was responsible for organizing the Ketterbeck expedition. Quite a remarkable man, really. This was the first time he teamed up with James Winterbank. Professor Winterbank was one of our most popular lecturers.
Egypt.
In fact, several of his former students were also eager to accompany him. I recall him saying that he was having difficulty choosing. Weatherby turned out to be the lucky one. Though it seems far from it now, doesn't it? I suppose Smith and Travis turned out to be the lucky ones after all.
Smith and Travis?
Peter Smith accepted the invitation to join another expedition. As for Philip Travis, he was quite keen on accompanying Professor Winterbank. In fact, he became exceedingly upset when Andrew Weatherby, a postgraduate student in the department, was chosen instead. Took it rather personally, I should say.
So you've been reading my articles in the Times. I'm honored. What do you think of them?
Quite interesting. You've clearly been following the murders quite closely. Who do you suspect?
I believe it is the work of the ancient Egyptian god Pumatef and his goddess Neith.
be serious.
I couldn't be more serious. You see, Mr. Holmes, although I am a journalist, I was actually trained as an Egyptologist. I know all about these mysteries. That's why my articles carry the force of truth.
And what is the truth, Mr. Travis?
The truth is that the Egyptians discovered the secret of life. What we call science is mere child's play compared to the knowledge they had.
Look at this. Do you know what this is?
It appears to be a mummified animal of some sort. A monkey, perhaps?
Precisely.
Write a conversation piece.
I've been using it in some very important experiments which, if successful, will unlock the secret for bringing back the souls of the dead. I've been working on it, Mr. Holmes, using these tanner leaves. Watch.
Where'd you get them all from?
Uma Lotus. Licantina. Burura.
Oh dear. Yeah, nothing happened, mate. Yeah.
It appears that the soul of this particular monkey has no intention of making a reappearance.
It's only a matter of time, I know it is. After all, these secrets have been buried for thousands of years. These things don't happen overnight. But it will happen someday. This is my mission.
Cuckoo.
I believe I'll leave you to your work, Mr. Travis.
Don't go yet. But let me show you more.
Thank you. Some other time, perhaps.
That guy's crazy. So we've talked to those peoples. I don't think he's all there. Winterbank done that. Turnbull done that. Ramsey did that. No, Weatherby, yeah, did that. Lions murdered, yeah. Don't know if anything here is really of any kind of use. Who are those people? Smith and Watson, was it? Oh, so I can't go there.
Sorry I can't help you, Ducky, but Mr. Smith has been out of the country since the middle of March. He's a good-looking bloke, except for the dirt under his fingernails.
Oh, dirt, eh? Jeff Person? Watson? No, that's my guy. I might have been him. No, Weiston? Oh, who was it? I can't remember now. Smith and... What was his name? No, it was Smith and Travis, wasn't it? Yeah, I talked to Travis, talked to Smith. Right, okay, yeah. Okay, right, fair enough. So now what? I'll see some better notes. Do I want to get a hint? I don't know. 3 minutes, yeah. Regulars, yeah. Who are the two suspicious Arabs? How do I talk to them? You get points just for canvassing random people that have nothing to even do with the story. Seems a bit odd. Oh, is that one of them? No one's at home. Is that not the guy's name?
Well, Holmes, I checked in with Mr. Al-Sad's manservant and...
And you discovered that Mr. Al-Sad was not at home.
But however did you know that?
Elementary, my dear Watson. I noticed some crumpet crumbs from the corner bakery stuck to your lapel.
You haven't been gone long enough to stop for tea and interview anyone at length.
Most observant, sir.
Right, yeah, that was ridiculous. Amateur medicant. What does that matter? Baskerville. Benjamin Disraeli. Oh, he's the other guy.
Is anyone there?
He's dead, isn't he?
Home?
Apparently so, Watson. Look.
Oh, what ghastly business. Everyone will assume the mummy has struck again.
Hardly a plausible assumption. This poor fellow has a knife in his back and not a scrap of sheeting about his neck.
How very observant, Holmes.
Ring up Scotland Yard. This case is
really
simple enough
observant.
for them to solve.
You've solved it already.
Elementary, my dear Watson. Obviously, it was the butler.
Butler? What butler?
Exactly my point. A man as wealthy as Akram Fahmy would always have a manservant about him. After the foul deed, this one obviously beat a hasty retreat.
Oh, music. Dun dun dun.
Well, well. If it isn't Mr. Sherlock Holmes, London's most overly praised amateur sleuth, needing the help of the Yard again.
Are you going to stand for
Not going to talk to me about that guy we just found dead, no? Bit strange. Okay, so can we go to the morgue or whatever it is? Where's like the hospital or whatever? Or Scotland Yard or something like that. The lab?
Pettigrew wrote this book over 50 years ago, and there's still nothing better on the subject. Fascinating. Just fascinating. And what can I do for you today, Whitson?
It's Watson, sir.
Watson, yes, of course.
We're interested in what you may have learned about this mummy case.
Oh, so these days it's mummies you're chasing down with that fella Helms.
It's Holmes, sir.
This is what I said now, isn't it, Whitson?
Yes, I believe you did, sir.
Let me show you what I found so far. This is the bit of linen that was found round the neck of James Windibank. I examined it thoroughly, and it is quite old, perhaps thousands of years. However, it is not the murder weapon.
Are you
It's a bit too weak, isn't it?
Aye. The linen is quite old, but it's not at all strong enough to strangle a grown man.
Very interesting, sir.
I also found something quite fascinating. Take a look through this glass. Do you see those short hairs on the fabric?
They look precisely like hairs.
Of course they look like hairs. But what kind of hairs? They're not human hairs. They're dog hairs. Now, look at this. This piece of linen was found round the neck of the victim on board the ship. Well, his name was Weatherby or something. It is also quite old, and on it I found more hairs.
More dog hairs?
No, my dear man, monkey hairs. I've not yet been able to identify the precise species, but it's just extraordinary, isn't it?
Quite. But what do you think it all means?
Well, I'm not the sort who likes to jump to conclusions, Whitson. But I can assure you that neither of these bandages were the murder weapons.
So they were murdered, and then posthumously those were wrapped around the necks to make it seem like a curse, and The guy that had that type of linen, which would have small animal hairs on, was that Travis fella. Can I talk to him about something new though?
So you've been reading my articles in the Times. I'm honored. What do you think of that?
It's strange you can't like ask new questions, but I think those things came from Travis. He was disgruntled he wasn't included on the original expedition. He's alive. Everyone else is dead without any sort of motive. But we don't want to jump to conclusions just yet.
Well, well. If it isn't Mr. Sherlock Holmes,
Same place.
London's most overly praised amateur snoop.
What's the point of this?
Mr. Turnbull apparently left what little he had to the Egyptology department at London University. And Windbank left everything to his wife Hildegard.
What about Weatherby?
Ditto. Everything was left to his wife Clarissa. Although being such a young chap, it hardly seems that he had much to leave at all.
So... why can't I speak to his wife? So Lindegard, wasn't it? Lindegard... Winterbank. So the museum had to gain something money-wise. The wives got to get the money, but the newly married one wouldn't have gotten much. So it doesn't really give her much of a motive.
Such a tragedy. Fine men all and such outstanding scholars. I still can't quite get over the shock of it.
We understand.
Nothing new there. I was hoping they'd get some stuff on him, but they didn't. Seems pointless. Let's look at the bank, shall we?
It appears that they've just left. There are fresh footsteps retreating from the front door.
But look, Holmes, there are also some coming towards the door.
Terribly observant, Watson. However, the prints you are looking at belong to us.
Poor old Watson. I can't do anything new with them, can I?
Winterbank's body was found.
Here it is, Holmes.
Right, so what shall I do? Let's look at the notes. What's a good score? I don't get that. Oh, still going. Oh, it's not stopping. Bit weird, isn't it? So, other than Turnbull, men left estates to their wives, which I think rules out. It's not going to the same people, so it kind of rules out. I don't know. Does it rule out money? I don't know. Should we get a hint? It's weird that we can't look more into that Arab that was killed. Why can't we look into that? Who was his manservant? Mr. Turnbull worked late into the night, remaining in the chamber alone until the other members had left. Weatherby discovered him. Strangled to death. But Weatherby. Sydney, Kabul, London. Windy Bank. I just think it might be that Travis guy. He seems a bit unhinged, but how do I sort of probe deeper into that? Should I get, before I go, I could try and judge. Should we just get a hint? An article in the newspaper mentions an excavation and the names of 3 men. Note the location of a lecture. That gave me points by getting a hint. What? That makes no sense. I can't remember the date it said. Oh, I can't remember the date. Silly boy. Go away from it. No, leave. 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 I'm trying to leave. August 17th. Where? Yeah, I went to University of London. It's been there. That doesn't help. So those just hints that give you them in order. They don't know what you've done yet. They just give you these same standard hints. Because I've been to London University, so. There's nowhere else to go university-wise, is there? Okay, so I think it just gives you the hints in order. So let's just get next one to something I've not already done. An article in the newspaper mentioned strangulation Turnbull. There were ancient linens about his neck. Are those strong enough to... No, we know there were, we know that. Done that, doesn't matter. 2 additional murders on board the ship. Yeah, we know that. Done that bit. Holmes' file about the men who were murdered and see if there's anything significant written there. Look for names and places. Holmes' files about the men who were murdered. What files? My files? Doesn't help me. So, Windy Bank, or Turnbull, doesn't matter which one. Holmes' files. Luxor Karnak area. Okay. Doesn't tell me anything. That didn't really help. Scathing letter to editor. Yeah, it was Pettigrew. Log of passengers. Ah, so mentioned ship. It's important to eliminate suspects in excavation of the ship and murder in London. Perhaps send someone there other than the detectives. How do I do that? How do I send them to the ship? Where's the docks? No, okay, Mycroft Holmes. That's good. Oh, where is it? Oh, King's College Hospital.
This seemed to be a dead end.
Where's that? Gave us a shilling. What was the captain called again? Shipping companies. God wouldn't give us lists of passengers. We stole it. Mrs. Hudson dropped it to your notebook. Ah, there you go. What about here? Didn't find anything since bunch. Okay.
Here is a passenger list you requested.
Done
sir.
that. Done that. Fenwick. Done that. Irregulars. Done that. Done that. Done that. Oh, okay. That wasn't very quick. Fenwick, or long rather.
I'm sorry, but I don't know anything about the death of old... whatever his name was.
Andrew Weatherby.
Fact is, I only saw the gentleman once,
Nice
just
hair.
as we were boarding. And I'll tell you, I resented the first officers questioning us on the matter, and I resent yours.
The whole voyage was a disaster from beginning to end. Our accommodations were positively abysmal. They wouldn't even let us bring Dickie into our cabin.
Dickie? Her high-strung, distasteful little mutt.
How can you say that, Merrill? You know Dickie is a blue-blooded Yorkshire Terrier. Mumsy will be with you in just a moment, Dickie.
Oh, God.
He's a bit under the weather, you know. That's why we were only able to stay in Egypt for 2 weeks. Dickie was so disappointed. He so wanted to see the Sphinx.
Mr. Holmes is not interested in your incessant whining, Louise.
Oh, now I whine, do I? There was a time you thought I had a lovely speaking voice. It's true, Mr. Holmes. He once adored me.
No doubt. Oh, for the love of God, Louise, spare us your blubbering.
Okay. Who were the other people's names? Bank of England. Done that, done that, done that, done that, done that, done that. Done all those, haven't we? Eastern Express. How do I go there? Oh.
This.
Okay. Why?
I'm very sorry to intrude.
Yeah, sweet. Okay. It's not telling us much, is it really? We can't get hold of him. He's gone, right? I mean, maybe he's there. Maybe he's back now.
Well, Holmes, I checked in with Mr. Al-Sad's manservant and
you discovered...
Because he's out of the country or gone somewhere. The other one was killed. Yeah, I've done that though. I've done that though. Nothing on file. Bank of England, yeah. Clement, yeah. Can't visit the Bank of England, it's not letting me do that. Yeah. Nothing on file about these. Yeah. Windy Bank. Who are these anti-vivisectionists? How do I talk to them? They could be the ones that did it. That. Okay, this doesn't really help. Foreign news editor of the Times. Really? Oh, the lights are going out. Foreign arrivals. Who wrote it though? Put the lights back on. Who's the editor? Doesn't say. Okay, so let's just guess. Why doesn't it say though? Surely I must have been missing it. Oh. Oh right, that's him. That's how you
quite
check.
Amusing all this hoopla over a mummy's curse, I must say. Not so amusing, of course, the murder of 3 Englishmen.
Have any of your reporters uncovered anything new?
Actually, I've been in Paris the past several weeks. Just returned to London on Tuesday. I've had no involvement with the writing of any of these articles. I believe they are all the work of Philip Travis. He's one of our young reporters. For a short time, he was the Egyptian correspondent.
Yeah, he's insane.
Was he sacked? No. He returned to London just a few days ago. I gather he was reassigned to cover the case from here because he had some familiarity with a murder in Egypt.
Do you know Travis?
No, never actually met the chap, although I hear he's a bit of an odd duck.
Thanks for your help,
very much so.
Anytime. Let me know when you catch the mummy. That's one scoop I'd like to get.
Spoke to Travis. There's no new things he would tell me. It's just a bit weird. Who's this person? Young barrister.
Sorry, fellows. I don't mean to be brusque, but I am too occupied at the moment to concern myself with these so-called mummy murders. Perhaps if the mummy's solicitor were to contact me, then perhaps I would consider defending him.
Alright.
Now, the thing what does strike me as odd is the passenger list of the Eastern Empress. Now, I'm not saying it has anything to do with the mummy murders, mind you, but it was a bit out of the ordinary.
What was Hogg?
Akram Fahmy, for starters. He's a well-known importer, he is. For a price, a considerable price by all accounts, he can acquire whatever one's heart desires, be it jewels, art objects, or even wild animals, if that's what you fancy. I'd say he was on board that ship to transport something very valuable.
The presence of one high-powered importer on a London-bound vessel is hardly reason for suspicion.
Right-o. But Abdullah al-Saud was also on board.
Oh, yes. The well-known agent for the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire.
You never miss a trick, do you, Holmes? Well, whatever it was what Fahmy was carrying, I'd say it was something those Turks wanted to get their hands on.
Yeah, what was it?
Beg your pardon, but could I have a word with you, Sir Jasper?
I want to see about the guy who murdered.
Watson, of course. Are you investigating the death of Samuel Sneed? I just finished with him.
No, we're interested in James Windibank.
Ah, the mummy's latest victim, of course. Who hired Holmes for this one? King Tut?
That's a jolly good one. Actually, we don't have a client on this one.
Just for fun, eh? Well, about the only thing I can tell you is that that mummy has very powerful hands.
What do you mean?
The trachea was crushed along with one of the vertebrae of the neck. Death was instantaneous. Snap.
But the papers' reports say that there were mummy wrappings found round the neck.
Just window dressing. Without question, it was bare hands. The bruises and the way that the vertebrae was crushed leave no doubt about that.
Thank you very much for your time, Sir
Can't be the
Jasper.
wife,
We're
obviously. She couldn't even open the tin.
Not at all, Watson. You will let me know when you've convicted the mummy.
Beg your pardon?
Well, so I can perform an autopsy on him. Would be most fascinating, don't you think?
So it must have been a fairly strong man. Who's this person? Let's go for all these.
Pettigrew wrote this book over 50.
Did that one.
Well, Holmes, it appears we're...
Didn't I?
Mr. Turnbull.
What was the name of that person? I missed it. O'Brien. Did that surely? We know that he had the grudge. I'm sure it's that Travis guy. Well, I'm not sure, but I've talked to him. Talk to him. Talk to him. Talk to him. Yeah, I'm sure. I think it was that Travis guy. Should we give it a go, guys? I think we've known for a while now that it's probably that crazy kooky monkey guy. So let's see. It could be wrong, but well, who else could it be? It has to be him.
Hear ye, hear ye. The Queen's Court now stands in order.
What about the guy? Oh, what's happened? What about the Turkish guys that wanted that thing? I don't get that bit.
Mr. Holmes, I understand you've been looking into the mummy murders.
Yes, my lord.
Tell me then, Who was Ebenezer Turnbull's murderer?
Well. Did he murder all of them? I'm trying to remember what happened. On the ship it well. Don't know.
And what makes you so certain? What was Travis' motive for killing Turnbull? Positively incorrect. I'm afraid you haven't done a good enough job of putting your brains to the task.
No. Sorry about that. You are summarily dismissed until such time you can correctly and without fault present your evidence. You've been docked 50 points. How's it going up even though it went down? What? Doesn't make any sense. Yeah, what is the bowl? James Windybank was discovered late yesterday preparing for British Museum's exhibit. Strangled. It's the third murder. Mummy Cuthbert Irregulars accompanied the London University sponsor. Ah. Yeah, so was he not on the ship? I can't remember what he said. No, he was on the ship. It's the guy. Is this not the? No, so it's him. It's him though, isn't it? That's the answer. He was aboard Eastern Empress, and yes, that guy was. He would have written an article, and yes, he wrote articles. He felt cheated by excavating. Yeah, he was annoyed about that as well. And he's got ties to the bandages, which yes, he does. Did I not select that or something? Did I select a different name? I said that. I picked Travis. Did I pick the wrong name or something? It's definitely that kooky guy. I must have pressed the wrong name. Oh, maybe I pressed the wrong answer as to why it's him.
The Queen's Court now stands in order. Mr. Holmes, I understand you've been looking into the mummy murder.
Definitely him.
Yes, my lord.
And what makes
I must have got this
you
bit wrong.
certain? What was Travis' motive for killing
Turnbull?
Turnbull?
Turnbull refused to honour Travis' press credentials, barring the next face of sight. That must be someone else. Publicly lambasted him.
And what of Andrew Weatherby? Who murdered him?
Again, same guy.
So, you say Travis killed Turnbull and Weatherby?
Yes, I believe he did, my lord.
But what was his motive to kill Weatherby, Mr. Holmes?
Weatherby scoffed. Mr. Police at times was planning to replace Travis with Weatherby. While they were shooting Weatherby's... Who's annoyed about the expedition?
Ah, revenge. The oldest motive in the book.
And him again.
This Travis seems to be
Winbank
quite
failed
a busy fellow.
Travis' mother's classes.
What
Winbank
made him
not
kill
choosing the
James
expedition.
Winbank?
Winbank ridiculed pursuit as an ancient experiment in the resurrection of the dead. Damn it!
Terribly sorry, gentlemen. That is not at all correct.
Okay. Damn you, Judge. Confused me that I thought he meant I wasn't even the right person.
Mr. Holmes, I understand. And what makes you so certain? What was Travis' motive for killing Turnbull? And what of Andrew Weatherby? So, you say Travis killed Turnbull and Weatherby?
Yes, I believe he did, my lord.
But what was his motive to kill Weatherby, Mr. Holmes? Ah, revenge. This Travis seems to be quite a busy fellow. What made... Well, you've done an admirable job in resolving this mystery. I'd say you're on a par with just about any other armchair detective out there. I would suggest,
it's a gaming chair.
that you rethink this case again, thereby improving your sleuthing skills.
So did I do it or not?
My word, dear Holmes. Perhaps we are in the wrong business altogether.
35.
Ring up the university immediately and see if we might enroll in a detective course.
What? Oh, is it like golf? Oh, I think that's a bad thing. Well, I talked to Mr. Holmes about his whole mum business. As far as the clue points go, here's how he did. You can listen to how he did, or try again, see if you can do better. I think maybe it's golf scores. That's why it was going up by 20 points by visiting someone nothing related. So I was like, oh, let's do one of those, get extra points. No, that's not what you're supposed to do. So you should have had the really low score. And that's why it went up when I got it wrong from the judge. Oh, I see.
Well, Watson, I believe this case is solved. And for your information, it was not the mummy.
Come, come, Holmes. I never thought for a moment it was the mummy.
Of course not, Watson. However, the murderer and the mummy did have one thing in common.
What's that?
They both were the only ones present at the time of the murders, except, of course, the victims.
You state the obvious, Holmes.
Ah, but it is seeing the obvious that is important. First, I saw no reason to assume that we were dealing with more than one murderer. Secondly, the locations of the murders limited the number of suspects.
Limited them? The first murder was in Egypt, the second on ship in the middle of the sea, and the third in London. You call the entire populations of London and Egypt a limited number of suspects?
No, no.
They're linked by the same group.
We had to find someone who was in Egypt for the first murder, on the ship for the second, and in London for the third.
Oh.
It's very easy. Makes it really easy.
According to the newspapers, the Eastern Empress was in Bombay at the time of Ebenezer Turnbull's murder, so that eliminated the ship's crew as suspects. Thus, I needed the list of passengers who boarded the ship at Cairo.
I said it was him all along. How did I get such a bad score?
Company that provided our first critical clue.
Damn it.
From it, I learned that Philip Travis was a passenger. I then learned that Travis was the chap who reported on the first murder. He became one suspect, but I had no motive. Clarissa Weatherby, who was also at the scene of the murder in Cairo, was another possible suspect, since she appears to have had a bit of a dalliance with Mr.
She wasn't strong enough.
On the high seas. So I had found her motive for the murder of Weatherby, but not a motive for the murder of the others.
Then whom did you eliminate?
Mrs. Weatherby. Her hands were not strong enough even to open a jar of English toffee, let alone strangle a grown man.
And what of Travis's motive?
It seems that Travis was a student in the Egyptology department at London University and had studied under James Windibank. He wanted very badly to be chosen as a member of the expedition, but Windibank turned him down. Instead, Weatherby was chosen and Travis was furious. So there you have the motive for two of the murders.
And what of his motive for the murder of Turnbull?
Evidently, Travis had written a vicious article questioning Dr. Turnbull's credentials to lead the expedition. Turnbull's response was quite harsh, probably powerful enough to drive an odd duck like Travis to murder.
Very impressive, Holmes.
Murder.
Elementary, my dear Watson.
That's cool, I like that. Guys, don't listen to this so much, because that's unfair. When I saw the score going up for doing things, I was like, oh, it likes you reading more information, oh, it likes you sending more people around, it likes you clicking on people nothing to do with it. So part of that is just because of me not realising that's how the score works. And also the judge bit at the end, I kind of messed it up a little bit. That's harsh. That's really harsh. Yeah, I like that. That was cool. Like I say, this is like the first of this whole game. There are other cases. I think 3 others, or at least 2 others. So I'll do them at some point as well. And yeah, I hope you like that. Oh, there were 2 others. There's the Tin Soldier and the Mystified Murderess. So I'll probably check them out as well. But yeah, that was the Mummy's Curse to completion. Ignore my score. And that'll about do it for this one. So guys, if you like that, please click like, make sure you subscribe for more videos like this, and I'll see you on the next video. And until then, remember, it's elementary. Okay, bye. Guys, if you're still here, you're awesome. But as you are still here, why not check out some of my other videos? Oh, and if you haven't already, please click subscribe. Laters, haters.